For those that don't know, I'm Atisha's older brother. But I wanted to take a quick survey very quickly. By show of hands, how many of you are the eldest child in the family? The eldest child? So not that many. Wow. Okay, so for those of you that did not raise your hands, I'll clue you guys in on a little secret that's actually been studied throughout literature and time. And that secret is that the eldest child is the favorite. It's true. I'm sorry, it's true. A couple memories stick out in my mind when I think about growing up with Atisha. And quite possibly, some of our family members don't even know some of these memories that I have. The first was when I was about 4, and Atisha was about 1.5, just learning to walk. And we were in our old house, which was just the first house we lived in. And I remember playing in the living room. And our living room was situated just like any other living room. We had a couple of couches, we had a big TV. And on the end of one of the walls was a fireplace made of brick. And I remember climbing on top of the couches and jumping off and doing some kind of karate kick or something. Now, Atisha was 1 and was just learning to walk. And back then was actually a chubby baby. She used to waddle like a penguin when she walked. Now, while I was jumping off the couch, I jumped pretty far and I accidentally bumped into Atisha. And to this day, I still remember this vividly. When I bumped into her, she fell backwards and the back of her head hit the brick fireplace. When I looked at Atisha, her eyes had rolled to the back of her head. Yeah, it gets worse. After she hit her head, my parents obviously hear and see this, and they freak out. They rush to Atisha, they decide to call 911. The ambulance comes, the sirens are blaring, the paramedics, they burst through the door, they don't even take off their shoes. They just come right in. The paramedics assess Atisha, and thankfully she regains consciousness, and she's okay. And we don't even end up taking her to the hospital. Now, there's a couple of things that I learned from that day. Number 1, that was the day I stopped being the favorite child. When you karate kick your sister and literally knock her out, you stop being the favorite child. And 2, I learned that Atisha was tough. Even at that age, she cried, but in 10 to 15 minutes, she was back to her normal self. She was tough. Another memory that stood out was when we went to India for the first time. I was about 13 now, and Atisha was about 11. And I was excited because our cousins, Shaylin and Dibin, were joining us on this trip. When we got to the family member's house in India, though, I noticed that there was a problem. I went up to Shaylin and Dibin, and I said, guys, here's the situation. Shaylin, there's no TV. Dibin, there's no video games. We had to play outside, but none of us packed a tennis ball, soccer ball, football. We had to improvise. Now, Atisha, even at the age of 11, almost becoming a teenager, she slept with a stuffed animal named Fuzzy. For those that don't know, Fuzzy was a teddy bear. He was big, brown, soft, and made a pretty good makeshift football. So naturally, we stole Fuzzy out of Atisha's suitcase, and I told Shaylin to go long, and I threw Fuzzy high in the air. He caught it, and he told Dippin to go long, and he threw Fuzzy high in the air to Dippin. And Dippin, he dropped it. Now, if you can picture a narrow alleyway in India in the late 90s, There were random cows roaming around everywhere, which was weird because it was an alleyway. And there were at least 10 stray dogs, each marking their own territory. We finished our Fuzzy football throwing session, and by the end, Fuzzy, the teddy bear, looks as if he's been mauled by an actual bear. They're stuffing out, one of his eyes is popped out. We returned Fuzzy to Atisha, and she's upset. She cried for a while, but in the end she got over it. She was tough. Now I want to quickly switch gears and talk about Mahesh. Over the past few years, Mahesh and I have been living in different areas of New York. And one day he texted me and asked if I wanted to get some dinner and drinks. So I said, sure, we'll go out to dinner. We finished dinner, and he mentions that his friend is having a birthday party and asked if I wanted to come. Yeah. And I said, sure. So we went to the hotel to pregame. Now, for the older generation, pregame is a term that a younger generation uses. It essentially means that we're drinking in a location and then moving to a different location. It's drinking before drinking. So we get to the hotel room for the pregame, and mind you, Mahesh hasn't seen his close friend in a while, many months. But I noticed that when we arrive, he stays by my side. Instead of greeting his close friends that he hasn't seen, he introduces me first. When we get a drink, he asks what I want first. Now, it may not seem like a big deal. You could say Mahesh was just being polite. But for me, it was. You see, it was those small, seemingly insignificant actions that showed me how thoughtful he was. It showed me in those small moments how he put me before himself. And if you ask Mahesh, he probably doesn't even remember doing these things, which further proves my point. His thoughtfulness, his selflessness, it comes naturally. It was in that moment, as I was making my third mixed drink, that I knew that Atisha was going to be taken care of. You see, Atisha is considered the baby of our family because she's the youngest. In fact, if you guys come to our house, in order to disable our alarm system, our passcode is 1991, the year of Atisha's birth. We pay homage to Atisha every time we enter the house. But even though Atisha is considered the baby of our family, as I've said throughout this talk, she's one of the toughest individuals I know. She's more self-driven, more self-disciplined than I ever was. She had a job before me. I'm pretty sure she graduated college before me. She doesn't need anyone to do the heavy lifting for her. And I think that's one of the many reasons why Mahesh compliments her so well. It's because he takes care of the little things. And in reality, those are the things that are most important. If you could all grab a glass, I'd like to make a toast to Atisha and Mahesh. I love you guys more than you know. Mahesh, as a side note, when you guys build your first house, do not put a brick fireplace in the living room. But I love you guys both. Congratulations. Cheers.